I took a day off and drove 3 hours for my mom's birthday dinner. When I got there, my seat was gone. My brother's kid was in it, eating the meal meant for me. Mom just shrugged. He deserves it more. You're used to being alone. Imagine pouring 12 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars into your family, only for your own mother to look you in the eye at her birthday dinner and casually tell you, you're used to being alone. That was the moment I realized they didn't see me as family. They saw me as an ATM. And I decided it was time for that ATM to close down for good. My name is Christopher and I'm 37 years old. For the last 12 years, I've been the person my family calls when the rent comes due, when the insurance lapses, when the credit card statement arrives with a number that makes everyone else nervous. I don't remember exactly when it started. Maybe it was after Dad's medical bankruptcy, when the hospital bills stacked so high they looked like a skyline. Maybe it was even before that, when my brother Tyler got his first apartment and Mom suggested I help out just this once because he was still finding his footing. That once became twice. Twice became monthly. Monthly became permanent. The math lives in a spreadsheet on my laptop. Mortgage supplement, $800. Utilities across 2 properties, $340. Car insurance for 3 vehicles, $420. Health insurance premiums, $980. Streaming services they insisted they needed, $160. Credit card minimums, $890. Gym memberships they forgot they had, $210. The total hovered around $4,800. Every single month. I've paid it for 144 consecutive months without missing a deadline. Tyler, my younger brother, contributed nothing. He's 32, married with 2 kids and works in sales. Good sales from what I hear. He bought a boat last summer. Posted photos of it on every platform. The sun catching the chrome, his kids laughing in life jackets. Mom commented on every single picture. Heart emojis, pride emojis, boat emojis. I don't have a boat. I have a studio apartment with furniture I bought 7 years ago and a car I'm nursing past 180,000 miles. I have a job in quality assurance that pays decently but not extravagantly. I have savings that could be healthier if $4,800 didn't leave my account on the 3rd of every month. What I also had was an invitation. Mom's 64th birthday dinner. Saturday night, 7 o'clock. The Italian place she loves downtown. The one where they know her order before she sits down. Tyler organized it. He sent the group text with restaurant details and a seating chart. My name was on it. Table for 9. My spot was between Mom and my sister, Jennifer. I requested the day off work 2 weeks in advance. Saturday shifts are mandatory in my department, but I explained the situation to my supervisor. Family obligation, important milestone. She approved it. The notification sat in my email like a small victory. The drive takes 3 hours. I know because I've driven it before. Holidays, emergencies, the time Tyler's basement flooded and he needed someone to coordinate with the restoration company while he was at a conference. The highways are familiar. The rest stops. The specific gas station where the coffee is always fresh. I left at 3:30 in the afternoon. Traffic was light. The weather was clear. I listened to a podcast about financial literacy. The irony was not lost on me. I arrived at 6:50. 10 minutes early. The parking lot was crowded, but I found a spot near the back. I sat in the car for a moment, checking my reflection in the rearview mirror. I'd worn the blue shirt Mom complimented once 3 years ago. I'd gotten a haircut the day before. I looked presentable, appropriate, ready. The restaurant smelled like garlic and fresh bread. The hostess recognized the reservation. She smiled and gestured toward the back corner where I could already see my family gathered around a long table. Balloons tied to Mom's chair. A small stack of wrapped gifts at the empty seat beside her. That's when I saw it. My seat wasn't empty. Tyler's 7-year-old son Mason was sitting there. He had a plate in front of him. My plate. The chicken marsala I'd pre-ordered when Tyler sent around the menu last week. I stopped 3 feet from the table. Everyone was talking, laughing. Jennifer was showing Mom something on her phone. Dad was cutting his bread. Tyler was refilling water glasses like a perfect host. I cleared my throat. Tyler glanced up. He looked at me the way you look at someone who arrived exactly when expected, but somehow still too late. "Hey Christopher," he said. His voice was casual, light. "Glad you made it." I nodded toward Mason, toward my seat, toward the plate that should have been mine. Where should I sit? Tyler looked confused for half a second. Then he looked at Mason, then back at me. Oh yeah, we had to shuffle things. Mason was hungry. You know how kids are. I waited for him to offer a solution. An extra chair. A reshuffled arrangement. Something. Mom looked up. Then she met my eyes. I thought I saw recognition there. Acknowledgement. Maybe even apology. Instead she shrugged. One shoulder, barely a movement. He deserves it more, she said. Her tone was light. Matter of fact. You're used to being alone anyway. The words didn't land like a slap. They landed like something heavier. Like confirmation. I didn't say anything. Not because I couldn't. I had words. I had 12 years of words. I had 144 months of payments that could have formed sentences long enough to fill that restaurant twice over. But words felt pointless. Explanation felt pointless. Standing there watching my 7-year-old nephew eat the meal I'd ordered. Wearing the shirt Mom complimented once. Having driven 3 hours after taking a rare day off. It all felt pointless. So I turned around. I walked back through the restaurant. The hostess smiled at me again. I didn't smile back. The door felt heavy. The parking lot felt enormous. My car was exactly where I'd left it. The engine started on the first try. I backed out slowly, carefully. No one came after me. No one texted. No one called. I made it 6 blocks before I pulled into a gas station parking lot. My hands were shaking. Not dramatically, just a slight tremor. The kind that comes when adrenaline meets exhaustion. I sat there for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the dashboard tick through every single one. At 7:20 p.m. my phone buzzed. Jennifer. Don't be sensitive. It's just a seat. Come back. Mom's about to open presents. I stared at the message. Read it 3 times. Each word processed separately. Don't be sensitive. It's just a seat. Just a seat. Just a day off I'd requested 2 weeks early. Just a 3-hour drive. Just 12 years of payments they'd accepted without hesitation and dismissed without gratitude. I opened my banking app, the one I check compulsively, the one that shows every automated payment, every scheduled transfer, every recurring charge that leaves my account like clockwork. The mortgage supplement was scheduled for Monday the 3rd, same as always. I tapped it. Canceled it. The confirmation screen asked if I was sure. I tapped yes. The utilities, 6 separate accounts across 2 properties. Canceled all of them. Car insurance, 3 policies. I removed myself as the payer. Changed the billing back to Dad's email. The system sent him an automated notification. I didn't care. Health insurance premiums. Those were trickier. I'd been listed as the policyholder for 4 years. I called the customer service line. The automated system took 11 minutes to connect me to a human. The human was polite. I explained I needed to transfer the account back to my father, effective immediately. She asked if I wanted to process a final payment to cover the remainder of the month. I said, no. Sir, that will result in a lapse. I know, I told her. Streaming services. Those were easier. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, Spotify Family Plan, Audible, all of them billed to my card. All of them connected to their devices. I canceled each one. The confirmation emails arrived in rapid succession. Credit card minimums. I'd set up autopay from my checking account 4 years ago when Dad missed 2 consecutive payments and the interest rate jumped to 26%. I removed the payment method. Changed the email alerts back to his address. Gym memberships. Mom's yoga studio, Tyler's CrossFit box, Dad's physical therapy gym. 3 separate recurring charges I'd quietly absorbed. I canceled each one. The yoga studio's cancellation policy required 30 days notice. I selected the option for immediate termination and accepted the penalty fee. It was $89. Worth every cent. The entire process took 47 minutes. My phone screen glowed in the darkening car. I went through every account twice, triple-checked every cancellation, made sure every automated payment was stopped, every scheduled transfer was deleted, every billing notification was redirected. At 8:11 p.m. I opened a new note on my phone. I titled it Monthly Savings. I typed $4,800 monthly. Then, $4,800 multiplied by 12 months equals $57,600 annually. Then, $57,600 annually multiplied by 12 years equals $691,200. I sat there staring at that number. $691,200. More than $500,000. Gone. But transferred. Deposited into accounts that weren't mine. For people who'd just given my seat to a child because I was used to being alone. At 8:41 p.m. I started the car. The gas station parking lot was emptying. The night was settling. I drove home. The same highways, the same rest stops, the same 3 hours. This time in reverse. I didn't turn on the podcast. I didn't turn on the radio. I drove in silence. The only sound was the hum of tires and the quiet rage settling in my chest like something permanent. At 8:52 p.m. my phone buzzed. Dad. I didn't look at it. Not while I was driving. Not until I was parked back at my apartment complex. Engine off, hands still gripping the steering wheel. The message was a photo. I tapped it. It took 3 seconds to load. Their house. The front door completely dark, the porch light off, the windows black. Taped to the door, illuminated by what must have been Dad's phone flashlight, was a bright orange notice. Utility disconnection. Account past due. Service terminated. Below the photo, Dad had typed 4 words. What did you do? I looked at those words for a long time. What did I do? As if the answer wasn't obvious. As if 12 years of coverage had been invisible. As if I'd done something wrong by stopping. I didn't reply. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching the shadows from the streetlights outside shift across the plaster. My phone buzzed 17 times between 9 p.m. and 2 a.m. I counted. I didn't look. By morning the buzzing had stopped. The silence felt louder somehow. I made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, opened my laptop. The spreadsheet was still there. 12 years of payments. 144 rows. Every month documented. Every amount recorded. Every confirmation number saved. I kept records because I'm careful. Because I work in quality assurance and documentation is reflex. Because some part of me always knew this information might matter someday. I scrolled through it slowly, saw the progression, the way the amounts had increased over time, the way new charges had appeared. The gym memberships, the streaming services, the credit card minimums that had grown as their spending had grown. I'd never said no. Not once. When Mom called saying the mortgage was tight that month, I'd sent the supplement within an hour. When Tyler needed car insurance after his second accident, I'd added him to my policy without hesitation. When Dad's health insurance lapsed, I'd made the call to reinstate it and set up autopay from my account. I thought that's what family did. Help. Supported. Carried the weight when someone else stumbled. But carrying the weight only works if the other person eventually stands up. They acknowledge the help. If they say thank you, or I appreciate this, or I'll take it from here when I can. They'd never said any of that. They'd said other things. Things like, you're so responsible, and we can always count on you, and thank God one of us is good with money. Things that sounded like compliments but felt like assignments. And last night in that restaurant, Mom had said something different, something that finally made the pattern clear. You're used to being alone. As if my being alone was a personality trait, a preference, a choice I'd made, rather than a consequence of spending 12 years funding their lives while they built families and bought boats and gathered around tables I wasn't welcome at. I closed the laptop, walked to the window. My apartment complex was quiet. Sunday morning. People were sleeping in. Making breakfast. Living lives that didn't include spreadsheets tracking how much they'd given to people who'd stopped seeing them. My phone lit up on the counter. I glanced at it. Mom's name. I didn't pick it up. I watched it buzz twice then go dark. 30 seconds later, it lit up again. Tyler. Then Jennifer. Then Dad again. Then a number I didn't recognize. I turned the phone face down, made another cup of coffee, sat back at the table, opened a different file on my laptop. My own budget. The one I'd been maintaining separately. The one that showed my rent, my car payment, my groceries, my student loans, my utilities. I added a new line, titled it Reclaimed Funds, and entered $4,800 monthly. I watched my projected savings account balance climb. I watched the timeline for paying off my car accelerate by 3 years. I watched the retirement contributions I could finally afford fill in cells that had been empty for over a decade. The math was simple. The relief was complicated. I was 25 when Dad got sick. Pneumonia that became sepsis that became a 3-week hospital stay that became bankruptcy. The bills were astronomical. The insurance covered 60%. The remaining 40% was still 6 figures. They lost the house they'd lived in for 18 years. Downsized to a smaller place with a mortgage they could barely manage. Mom cried for 2 months straight. Tyler was 20, fresh out of college, focused on his new job, his new apartment, his new girlfriend who would eventually become his wife. I was the oldest. The responsible one. The one who'd majored in something practical and gotten a stable job and lived below my means. I had savings. Not much but enough to help. That first payment was $800 just to cover the gap in the mortgage that first month. Mom hugged me. Dad shook my hand. They said it was temporary just until they got back on their feet. The second month, it was $1,200, mortgage plus utilities because the winter heating bills were higher than expected. By month 6, it was $2,400. They'd added car insurance because Dad's rates had skyrocketed after the bankruptcy. By year 2, it was $3,800. Tyler had moved back home briefly between jobs. I covered his expenses too. Mom said it wasn't fair to ask him to contribute when he was struggling. By year 5, Tyler was married, had his first kid, bought a house. I was still paying $4,200 monthly to my parents. He contributed nothing. When I asked if maybe he could help now that he was stable, Mom looked hurt. He has a family to provide for, she'd said. I didn't ask what I was. I already knew the answer. By year 8, the amount was $4,600. They'd added streaming services, a second car insurance policy, credit card minimums that kept growing. I'd automated everything by then. Set it up so the money left my account on the 3rd of every month without me having to think about it. They stopped thanking me around year 4. By year 8, they stopped acknowledging it entirely. The payments became invisible. Expected. Like gravity or air or sunrise. I bought them gifts on holidays. They bought Tyler's kids elaborate presents and gave me gift cards. I drove 3 hours for birthdays. They drove 15 minutes to Tyler's house every Sunday for dinner. I offered to host holidays. They said my apartment was too small. Last Christmas, I spent $600 on presents for everyone, thoughtful things. Books Mom had mentioned wanting, a tool set Dad had been eyeing, toys for Tyler's kids, a fancy coffee maker for Jennifer. They gave me a $50 Visa gift card and a generic card that said, Happy Holidays. Tyler gave Mom a cruise voucher. He got a standing ovation at dinner. I gave Mom a first edition of her favorite novel. She said thank you and set it aside. At one point around year 10, I tried to talk about it. Not confrontationally, just honestly. I'd asked if maybe we could look at redistributing some of the financial responsibilities. If maybe Tyler could take over the utilities now that he'd gotten a promotion. If maybe Jennifer could handle the streaming services. Dad had looked uncomfortable. Mom had looked offended. Tyler had looked confused, as if the idea that he should contribute to their parents' expenses was completely foreign. We thought you liked helping, Mom had said. What? As if writing checks for $4,800 every month was a hobby, like stamp collecting or gardening or woodworking. I dropped it. Told myself it was fine. Told myself family was about sacrifice. Told myself I was doing the right thing. But last night, sitting in my car outside that gas station, canceling every payment I'd made for 12 years, I'd finally admitted the truth. They'd never seen me as family. They'd seen me as a bank account. One they didn't have to pay back. One that didn't charge interest. One that was always open, always available, always willing. Until it wasn't. Monday morning at 6:17 a.m., someone started pounding on my apartment door. I was already awake, had been since 4 a.m., sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop and my coffee and the spreadsheet that documented 12 years of payments they'd forgotten about. The pounding came again, harder, more insistent. I walked to the door, looked through the peephole. Tyler. His face was red, his jaw was tight. He looked like he'd driven 3 hours without stopping. Probably had. I opened the door, didn't unlock the screen. Stood there with 6 inches of metal mesh between us. What the hell did you do? His voice was loud, sharp. The neighbor's door across the hall opened slightly, then closed. I didn't answer immediately. I looked at him, really looked at the expensive jacket he was wearing, the designer sneakers, the watch I'd seen him post about 3 months ago. $800 on sale. A steal, he'd called it. I stopped paying for things that aren't mine, I said. His face got redder. You cut off their electricity, their insurance, everything. Mom called me at midnight crying. Dad's freaking out because the mortgage payment bounced. Jennifer's gym membership got canceled in the middle of her class. I nodded. Yes. Why? What did they do to you? The question was so absurd I almost laughed. Almost. They gave my seat to your son, I said quietly. Told me he deserved it more. Told me I'm used to being alone. Tyler's expression flickered. Confusion, maybe recognition, then defensiveness. It was just a seat, Christopher. You're being dramatic. It was 12 years, I said. Of payments. Of coverage. Of showing up. Of being the person everyone calls when they need something. And in 12 years, not once did any of you say thank you. Not once did any of you acknowledge what I was doing. Not once did any of you treat me like family instead of a bank account. We appreciated it. Tyler started. I held up my hand. No, you didn't. Appreciation requires acknowledgement. You all just took and took and took. And when I drove 3 hours after taking a rare day off work to be at Mom's birthday, you gave my seat away. My meal. My place at the table because your son was hungry and I'm used to being alone. Tyler's jaw worked. He looked like he wanted to argue, wanted to find the words that would make this my fault somehow. So, you're punishing them? He said finally. No, I said, I'm stopping. There's a difference. Punishment would be asking for the money back for the $691,200 I've paid over 12 years. Punishment would be charging interest or demanding apologies or requiring restitution. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just done being invisible while funding your lives. $691,200? His voice cracked slightly. I nodded. Give or take. I have the spreadsheet if you want to see it. Every payment, every amount, every month. 12 years. All documented. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. They're going to lose the house. Maybe, I said. Or maybe you'll help. You have a good job. A boat. A house. Designer sneakers. You can afford to contribute. You just never had to because I was doing it. That's not fair, he started. Fair? The word came out harder than I'd intended. You want to talk about fair? You contributed nothing for 12 years. I covered your car insurance for 3 years while you got on your feet. I paid the heating bills when you moved back home. I funded the mortgage on the house you lived in rent-free for 8 months. And you never once offered to help. Never once said thank you. Never once acknowledged that the reason Mom and Dad have been comfortable is because I've been writing checks every single month. Tyler didn't have an answer for that. I'm not the villain here, I said quietly. I'm just done being the invisible hero. I closed the door, locked it, walked back to the kitchen table, sat down, picked up my coffee. Outside, Tyler stood in the hallway for another 2 minutes. Then I heard his footsteps retreat. The building door closed. His car started. Drove away. My phone buzzed. Mom. Then Jennifer. Then Dad. Then Tyler again. I turned the phone off. Finished my coffee. Opened my laptop. Started looking at job postings in cities 400 miles away. By Monday afternoon, I'd compiled everything. Every bank statement, every confirmation email, every automated payment receipt, every text message where they'd asked for help and I'd said yes. The folder was massive. 847 pages. As I merged the PDFs, I organized it chronologically, added a table of contents, created a summary page at the beginning that listed totals by year and category. Year 1, $28,800. Year 2, $45,600. Year 3, $50,400. Year 4, $50,400. Year 5, $50,400. Year 6, $57,600. Year 7, $57,600. Year 8, $57,600. Year 9, $57,600. Year 10, $57,600. Year 11, $57,600. Year 12, partial $4,300. Total, $691,200. I'd been conservative in my initial calculation. The actual documented amount was still enormous. Still enough to have bought a house outright in most cities. Still enough to have changed my entire life trajectory. I saved the file, titled it Financial Support Documentation 2013 to 2025. Saved it to 3 different locations. Cloud storage, external hard drive, email to myself. Then I drafted an email. Not to them. To my bank. To my insurance company. To the mortgage lender. To every institution where I'd been listed as a payer or co-account holder for their expenses. The emails were identical. I am requesting immediate removal from all accounts associated with names. I am no longer responsible for any payments, charges, or obligations related to these accounts, effective immediately. Please confirm receipt of this notice and provide documentation of account changes. I sent them all, waited for the confirmation emails. Save those too. My phone stayed off. I knew what was waiting there. Voicemails. Text messages. Increasingly desperate attempts to reach me. Probably threats by now. Definitely guilt trips. Maybe apologies, though I doubted it. By evening I'd made a list. Not of things I was angry about. Those were too numerous, too old, too pointless. Instead, I made a list of things I was going to do with $4,800 monthly. Pay off my car 18 months early, saving $2,000 in interest. Max out retirement contributions, $6,500 annually, more than my current rate. Build an emergency fund, 6 months of expenses by the end of the year. Take a vacation, my first one in 8 years. Move to a 1-bedroom apartment with a real bedroom, maybe a balcony. The list felt good. Tangible. Real. Like a future I'd been postponing for 12 years because I was too busy funding someone else's present. At 7 p.m. I turned my phone back on. 43 missed calls. 67 text messages. 12 voicemails. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I scrolled through the texts. Mom, please call me. We need to talk. Dad, this is serious. The mortgage payment bounced. Call now. Tyler, you're being childish. Family doesn't do this. Jennifer, Mom is devastated. How could you? Mom again, Christopher, please. We can fix this. Tyler again, if Dad has a heart attack over this stress, it's on you. I read them all. Every single one. Noted the progression. The way they went from confused to angry to desperate. The way none of them said, we're sorry, or we didn't realize, or you were right. The way every single message was about what I'd done to them, not about what they'd done to me. At the bottom of the thread was one from an unknown number. This is Carol from Riverside Financial. Your father's mortgage account is past due. Please call to arrange payment. I deleted it. Then I opened a new message. Not to them. To my supervisor. Short. Professional. I'm willing to take on additional weekend shifts if available. Please let me know scheduling options. She replied within 10 minutes, absolutely. Starting next month? I confirmed. Closed my phone. Made dinner. Ate slowly. Washed the dishes. Sat on my couch. Turned on the TV using my own Netflix account that only I paid for. The silence in my apartment felt different. Not lonely. Not empty. Just mine. Tuesday morning the utilities were shut off. I know because Jennifer posted about it on social media. Can't believe the power company made a mistake and shut off my parents' utilities. Currently sitting in the dark waiting for customer service. This is ridiculous. She tagged the power company, added hashtags about poor customer service. The comments were sympathetic. People shared their own utility company horror stories. No one knew it wasn't a mistake. Wednesday the health insurance claim was denied. Dad had a physical therapy appointment for his knee. Showed up, scanned his card. System showed no active coverage. The receptionist apologized. Said the policy had lapsed. Offered to reschedule once he had proof of coverage. Mom called me 16 times that day. I didn't answer. Thursday, Tyler's gym membership was suspended. He showed up for his morning CrossFit class. The front desk stopped him. Account showed as canceled. He'd argued, made a scene, demanded to speak to the manager. The manager pulled up the records, showed him the cancellation notice from Saturday night, explained the 30-day clause didn't apply when someone chose immediate termination and paid the penalty fee. Tyler posted about it. Long rant about terrible gym policies and poor customer service. Mentioned he'd been a member for 4 years. Didn't mention I'd been paying for those 4 years. Friday morning at 6 a.m. the bank called Dad. The mortgage payment had bounced. Account showed insufficient funds. They'd attempted to process it twice. Both times declined. This triggered a late payment clause. Added a $125 fee. Bumped the account into arrears. Started the clock on foreclosure notices. Dad called me 28 times between 6 a.m. and noon. Then he called my work. My supervisor was confused. Told him I was on my lunch break. Asked if it was an emergency. Dad said yes. She found me in the break room. Said my father was on the phone. Said he sounded upset. Asked if everything was okay. I took the phone, walked outside to the parking lot. Yes, Christopher? His voice was ragged. Exhausted. Please, we need to talk. Okay. The mortgage bounced. The insurance lapsed. The utilities are off. Tyler's gym membership. Jennifer's membership. The credit cards are past due. Everything happened at once. What do you want? An apology? We're sorry. We're sorry about the dinner, about the seat, about what Mom said. Just please turn the payments back on. We'll figure out a way to pay you back. I was quiet for a long moment. Watched cars pull in and out of the parking lot. Watched people going about their normal Friday. Their normal lives. Lives where family dinners probably didn't end with empty seats and casual cruelty. No, I said finally. No, Christopher, please be reasonable. I am being reasonable, I said. For 12 years I wasn't reasonable. I was convenient. I was available. I was the person who said yes every single time without question. That was unreasonable. This is reasonable. We can't afford all of this. Dad said, his voice cracked. The mortgage alone, the insurance, we'll lose the house. Tyler has a good job, I said. Jennifer works full-time. Between the three of you, you can cover $4,800 monthly. It's what I've been doing alone for 12 years. Tyler has his own family to support. So do I said quietly. I'm supporting myself. For the first time in 12 years, I'm supporting myself. My own rent. My own future. My own retirement. My own life. But we're your family. Am I yours? The question came out sharper than I had intended. Because Saturday night at Mom's birthday dinner, I drove 3 hours after taking a day off work. I wore the shirt she liked. I ordered in advance. I showed up 10 minutes early. And when I got there, my seat was gone. My meal was being eaten by your grandson. And when I asked where I should sit, Mom said Tyler's son deserved it more because I'm used to being alone. That's not family. That's a bank account you occasionally invite to dinner. Until you don't. Dad didn't respond immediately. I could hear him breathing heavy, shaky. What do you want us to do? He asked finally. I want you to figure it out, I said. The way I've been figuring it out every month for 12 years. The way I figured out how to budget $4,800 monthly on a quality assurance salary. The way I figured out how to show up for every holiday and birthday and emergency without complaint. Figure it out. I hung up, turned off my phone, walked back inside, finished my lunch, went back to work. At 5 p.m. I left the building, drove home, made dinner, turned my phone back on. 182 messages. 54 calls. I deleted them all without reading. Blocked Mom's number. Blocked Dad's. Blocked Tyler's. Blocked Jennifer's. Opened my banking app. Checked my balance. Saw the $4,800 that had stayed in my account for the first time in 144 months. Started looking at apartments. 1-bedroom places with balconies in cities far enough away that 3-hour drives would become 6-hour drives, would become visits that happened maybe once a year instead of monthly. 6 weeks after Mom's birthday dinner, I signed a lease on a 1-bedroom apartment in a city 400 miles north. It had a balcony overlooking a small park, hardwood floors, enough space for an actual bedroom and a home office. The moving truck left on a Saturday morning. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. Didn't post about it. Didn't send change of address cards. Just packed everything I owned into boxes and drove away from the life I'd been living in proximity to people who treated proximity like obligation. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that they'd figured it out eventually. Tyler had taken over the mortgage supplement. Jennifer covered the utilities. Dad had gotten a part-time job to handle the insurance premiums. Mom had canceled most of the streaming services. They downsized the cars, cut expenses, made it work. They'd also tried to reach me. 47 attempts through various channels before they'd finally stopped. Emails through distant cousins. Messages passed through coworkers. One handwritten letter that had arrived at my old apartment and been forwarded. I'd read the letter once. It was from Mom. 3 pages. She'd apologized. Said she hadn't realized how much I'd been doing. Said she'd been thoughtless. Said the comment about being used to being alone had been cruel. Said she missed me. The letter never mentioned the money. Never acknowledged the 12 years. Never said she understood why I'd left. Just that she was sorry for one comment at one dinner. I didn't respond. My new life was quieter. I worked the same job remotely. Took the weekend shifts I'd volunteered for. The extra income went into savings that actually accumulated now. I paid off my car 3 months early. Opened a retirement account that wasn't competing with someone else's mortgage. Booked a vacation to Iceland for next spring. I made friends, slow at first. People I met at the climbing gym I joined. A book club at the library. The neighbor across the hall who'd helped me move furniture and stayed for pizza. Relationships that started with no history, no debt, no expectations beyond basic human decency. On what would have been our family Christmas, I was invited to dinner by my neighbor, Sarah. She had a small gathering, 6 people. A table with exactly enough chairs. Food enough for everyone. Conversation that was easy and kind. When she asked about my family, I said they live far away. She nodded. Didn't push. Offered more wine instead. At midnight, I stood on my balcony. The park below was quiet. Snow was falling, light, peaceful. The kind of night that felt like possibility. My phone was inside on the counter, silent. No missed calls. No demanding texts. No one asking for money or time or pieces of me I couldn't afford to give. I thought about the seat at that restaurant, the one Tyler's son had taken, the meal he'd eaten, the comment Mom had made. And I realized something. They'd been right. I was used to being alone. I'd spent 12 years funding their togetherness while existing in the margins. I'd mistaken proximity for belonging, obligation for love. But this quiet apartment with its empty balcony and its peaceful snow and its lack of anyone demanding anything? This wasn't being alone. This was being free. I stayed outside for another 10 minutes, let the snow settle on my shoulders, felt the cold air in my lungs. Then I went inside, locked the door, made tea, sat on my couch in the apartment I paid for entirely by myself, and for the first time in 12 years, I fell asleep without checking my bank balance, without calculating what I owed, without wondering when the next call for help would come. I slept through the night, dreamless, complete, whole. The empty seat at that table had taught me something they'd never intended, that sometimes the cruelest gift is clarity, and sometimes walking away isn't an abandonment. Sometimes it's the first honest thing you've done in years. Have you ever found yourself supporting someone who didn't even see you? What was your breaking point? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below.